there's so much discussion today online, especially about Zionism and perhaps what it does and doesn't represent. So, can I ask you, as a worker in the church in Jerusalem, what would you say Zionism is and what isn't? What it isn't?
Excellent question. Zionism. First of all, Zionism is by its at its core definition is nationalism, and it's a nationalism for the Jewish people to have a nation state. Now, you may not like nationalism. Nationalism might not be your thing. You might think that we should all be united, that we should just get rid of borders. I think that is a wrong idea. I think last time we tried that in the Bible in Genesis 10, it led to the Tower of Babel. But you don't have to like nationalism. But if you don't like nationalism, you'd better not like Croatian nationalism or Palestinian nationalism or the American nationalism, or any form of nationalism. But if everybody else is allowed to have a nationalistic expressions, except for the Jewish people, well, then you're an anti-Semite. And so Zionism is not evil. It's not racist. It's not prejudiced against anything. It is simply nationalism for the Jewish people. And that has the same weight, value, meaning, and intention as any people group's nationalistic aspirations. Christian Zionism is simply that. It is a Christian theological look at the Bible that says, well, actually, there isn't a group of people called the Jewish people, and they have a nationalistic aspiration, and we find it in the biblical text, and it comes with a geographical border which you find in the Bible. That's what Christian Zionism is. It's not evil, racist, or anything like that. It's just an acknowledgement that there is actually a sacred text that has nationalistic aspirations for a people group.
So does Zionism mean that you hate Palestinians or don't care about the poor that are amongst?
No, Zionism does not mean that you hate Palestinians. Zionism does not mean that you hate any other people group. Just like having a nationalistic aspiration for Croatians doesn't mean you're automatically anti-European or anti-Bosnian, or whether you're an American nationalist and therefore hate Canadians. That's just not true. For people to say such a thing goes against the actual definition of what nationalism is.
So do you think there is a minority that are perhaps taking this idea too far?
Yeah. There are always minority groups.
Like political extremists?
There are always minority groups. There's always political extremist groups. Usually these people, because of their nature as minorities, are not a reflection of the majority. They tend to be, though, quite vocal and loud, and tend to get most of your press and public, occupy the public sphere in discussion, usually for the negative. And they tend to dominate, and then it unfortunately everyone gets tarred with their brush, and that's not fair.
Right. So what would you say to the sentiment that Zionism equals Rothschild conspiracy with, that is purely elitist?
There's lots of conspiracy theories out there. I think they're absolutely hilarious. If you really do believe that Jews rule the world and that they're domineering and control everything, then you probably shouldn't say anything nasty about Jews, should you? I wouldn't, if that's what I thought. They don't. The richest people in the world, the top 10, none of them are Jews. So. And the big companies that are the most wealthiest, they're not Jews anyway. The most richest company in the world is actually Aramco. It's Saudi Arabian. If you want to talk about who owns all the wealth, go look there. It's just those conspiracy theories that are in essence actually anti-Semitic and actually ignore facts. And usually when you try and explain facts to these people, they're not going to listen anyway. My advice for people, do some research. Go look, go check out the facts, and you'll actually find that Jewish people are very altruistic. They donate to fantastic charities. They are not the richest people in the world. They also occupy the poorest echelons too. And the fact is that they have not sought to go out and conquer. That is just not true. Israel, as a nation, as we have seen in history, has withdrawn from the Sinai, has withdrawn from the Lebanon, has withdrawn from Gaza, has made peace with Jordan, has made peace with Egypt and Turkey and Morocco, and now Qatar, and so actually has gone and made peace with as many Arab neighbors as it can. Those are facts. Those are things you can all happily check, and those should be celebrated. Those should be talked about. Those should be encouraged. Instead, we end up with people who still scaremonger, still instill fear, still spread lies and rumors. That essentially equates to anti-Semitism.
And we see a common thread amongst the United Nations and the liberal press that they are constantly actually saying that Jews have no connection to the Temple Mount or Jerusalem. And
That fact, that claim that Jews have no connection to the Temple Mountain or Jews have no connection to the land of Israel should insult every single Christian who owns a Bible. And any Christian who has actually read his Bible should be able to see clearly from just about every page that God brought his people to the land of Israel, that Joshua came into Canaan, that Jesus walked amongst the temple, he cleansed the temple, he said, "This is my Father's house, I am supposed to be here to do my work," and this sort of idea that there never was a temple should insult every Christian who owns a Bible. And instead what you find is they're incredibly silent, and silence is an affirmation. If you're silent in the face of a lie, that means you actually affirm the lie, and you should stop doing that.
So how do we fight this? How do we witness to the Jews as believers, and how do we fight this surge of...
Well, two things are always going to be certain. One is death, and the other is a Muslim majority in the United Nations. So I don't think you can actually challenge this on a political level, and perhaps that's maybe the reason why Jesus says that my kingdom really is not of this world. But you are part of the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is forcefully advancing, and your king is alive and well, and he is sitting on the throne ruling and reigning, and he has given his spirit, and that gives us a sense of encouragement. That gives us actually a sense of power, that when it is time for us to speak, that we will actually have the words from the Spirit. And so I would encourage us to acknowledge that Paul says faith comes by hearing. We need to speak, and we need to speak the truth. Speak the truth in love, speak to the truth gently, constantly when we come up against a lie, to acknowledge it, to challenge it, and to counteract the lie with truth and hope.
Can I ask you actually, why do you think the enemy hates the Jews?
Why do I think the enemy hates the Jews? I think the enemy has also read the same texts as us, and he knows that redemption comes from the Jews, and as Jesus said, he knows this, and he knows that history began here, and he knows that history ends here. And if he wants to try and change history, he's got to change here. And that is the Jewish people. That is the state of Israel. That seems to be a destiny and a calling for Israel. Israel has in Isaiah 19, Israel will be a blessing in the midst of the earth. Abraham, that these will be lights to the nations and a blessing to the ends of the earth. And Satan doesn't like this world. He hates the adoration of the Lord. God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Satan only hates it, and so he comes in to seek, kill, and destroy. And the one way to do that is to target God's chosen people, and he has chosen to hate them with a vengeance.